I have nothing valuable to say. Who's even going to listen to me? That's what someone said to me when I invited them to be a guest on the show. I saw the work on social media that they were doing within their workplace, and I really valued it. And I thought, gosh, she would be great for the Money Honey show. She'd be great to come and talk to other like-minded individuals, other listeners who are tuning in to feel inspired and to learn. And I think people have got something to learn from this particular individual. And she turned around and said, I have nothing valuable to say. I'm not ready for the show. Why would anyone bother tuning in? And I was not surprised, but still saddened by this reaction that this particular lady had. And I had to stop her in her tracks, and not that I was given permission to, and I'm sure she wasn't expecting it, but I kind of told her off. I was like, never speak like that about yourself again, because you can't speak like that about yourself. And she said, yeah, but the people you've had on the show, and this was what scared me, is that she said, the people you've had on the show are so senior, they've got their shizzle together, they know what they're talking about, they're really high up, they're really successful, and I just don't have that status. And this is where, if you're listening to the Money Honey podcast and you're tuning in now, this is where you've got it all wrong. This is not what the show is about. The show is not about promoting or celebrating people in high spaces, in high places, or people of leadership. Okay. This show is simply about putting female faces out there on the screen more often, because everyone keeps saying there's not enough women in financial services, or there's not enough women that are visible in financial services or property and finance. There's a shocking statistic that only 17% of the workforce within financial services is made up by women. That's still drastically low. And so we all have a responsibility to show up and be that representation, be that person that people want to see on the screen, regardless of what level you're at. Okay. Regardless of what qualities you bring or what job title you have. This is not about titles or trophies. This is about you being a female representative in finance, in construction, in property. And you might just be the candidate. You might just be that person that changes that listener's life that day, because you go through an experience, or you share a story, or you share your journey. And it might just be that story that relates to that listener on that particular day. We're not all going to relate to senior leadership directors on the board. We're not all going to relate to award-winning financial advisors, right? We're not all going to relate to property developers that have got angel investors. We've all got our own journey, and we all have our own place in this industry, in this sector, in this world. We all have our place. All right. You don't see a bee, right? Let's use the bee theme. You don't go to a lavender field, right? Which I love, by the way. I live in Hitchin, and Hitchin's got the most remarkable lavender field in the area for miles and miles and miles. And when I go there, I really reflect on how hardworking each bee is in the little section that they're working in. Okay. So they're there, they're buzzing around, and they're collecting the pollen, and they're cross-pollinating, and then, they're dropping the pollen off somewhere else. But they're not looking at each other like, oh, he's caught more than I have, or and she's working a little bit harder, and she got here early, I've only just arrived. And, there's no comparison. Okay. So the honeybee is working extremely hard in their section. And then when you zoom out and you look at the whole field, then it is a joint effort from everybody together that has created the most mesmerizing lavender field. All right. And all the other flowers that are around as well. So that's the impact you have. That's the value you bring, is that when you zoom out and on a wider scale, we see the beauty that is everybody working together. When you bring the honey back, or when you go and make honey, right? Or, when the bee goes to drop off the pollen, they don't fight over who brought more and who did more, and they bring it in one beehive. They have one beehive, one collective, one space, and then the honey comes out. Okay, so this is what the Money Honey is about. The Money Honey show is about honeys. We're the money, we're in the money industry. Okay, we are women in industries that are very money orientated, like property, construction, finance, right? Um, Protection, insurance. This is, very money focused industries, but very people focused. Okay. It's money and people, but foremost, absolute priority is people, right? We're not doing transactions and deals with money. We're doing it with people. So this is why I was I wanted to make this episode on my own, and to give a little recap of what the Money Honey podcast is about. And if you have been tuning in and listening to this, what you're getting yourself into, right? This is your duty. You need to feel a sense of duty to want to be a part of this, because this is about cross pollinating, positive pollination amongst all of us. It's not about coming on here and trying to be the big chief, right? This is why I'm not called the queen bee, right? I am not a queen bee. I'm just a honey worker bee, just like the rest of you, right? And no matter what title you have, there is no differentiation on this show. This is about sharing all of our journeys and being the face that other people need to see, being brave enough to step up, show up, and present yourselves here so that others around you can watch you do it and say, I can do that too. Okay. So this is what saddened me when I heard I have nothing valuable to say. Who is going to listen to me? I'm not ready for this kind of show. I'm not there yet. Where are you trying to be? Right? Every single female, every single presenter that has been on this show, regardless of how many awards they've won, or how much they're earning, or how senior they are, they've all had a degree of imposter syndrome. All of them, including myself, which brings me on to my next point, which was this other lady who I asked to be on the show said, oh, no, I couldn't speak as well as you speak. I just don't know how you do it. I am not as confident as you. I just don't have it, right? I just don't have what you have. And I was like, sorry, can you just fill me in on what it is you think I have? Right? Can you just can I just have a bit of insight into what you think? Like this idea of perfection that you've drawn me up to be, like, I don't understand where that's coming from. And she was like, why don't you feel like, do you not see yourself like that? And I was just like, no, I also have imposter syndrome. I also lack confidence many times. I also get nervous. I am, just FYI, I'm really human. Like, I'm really normal, and I still get nervous, and I still, have thoughts about, what do they think of me? Am I good enough? Are they comparing me to XYZ person? What if they do decide to work with me and then they're like, oh, actually, she's not as good as I thought she was. And actually, I'm looking for evidence. I'm looking for excuses in my head to stay small and to stay comfortable, and that's the problem, right? We want to stay small and comfortable, and we kind of close in on ourselves, because being brave, big, bold, and beautiful is scary, right? But it is exciting once you actually do it. So I wanted to clarify those two things. One, when we don't just interview leaders, right? We don't just interview senior people, is what I should say. And we don't just interview award-winning consultants and advisors, right? We interview everybody. That's the first thing. Secondly, we all suffer with imposter syndrome, including myself. But if I don't step up and be brave, then what is that saying to the world? What is that saying to the future self? What is that saying to my kids to come in the future? What is that saying to my mother? How am I showing up as the person that I would like to see on the screen? So that's why I do it. It's my sense of duty. And thirdly, I did actually want to make a point at this stage because we've interviewed some fantastic women up until this point. But we don't just interview women. Okay. We're not just looking for women. Of course, we want to speak to the men. We absolutely want to interview men. But here's what's scary. Why haven't I interviewed any men so far? For the show, because maybe it's not that obvious. It's not that obvious online or from the connections that I have, which men out there are doing work in conjunction and collaboration with women to raise our awareness and to bring equality to the workplace. It's not that obvious. Now, there's a few names that I know, and they will be coming on the show soon. I've managed to find about 4 men that are actually big advocates and big movers in this space and that want that are great cheerleaders, that are amazing cheerleaders for women. But there's only 4. So if you are listening to this and you know your boss or your manager or your colleague or your friend or anyone or your husband, if you know of a man that actually has got something to say about this subject in a positive light, constructive, then please send them my way. I would love to interview them as well. So, thank you for tuning in. If you are listening to this episode and you are enjoying the episodes of The Money Honey, please do remember to actually hit the subscribe button on Spotify and YouTube so that you actually get notified, first and foremost, so you get notified of when the episodes are out. But secondly, if you don't help us grow, then we won't grow. And the bigger the show, the better the speakers, the better the inspiration and the impact that this is going to make to all the listeners. So please do hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. You can find us on Spotify and on YouTube. And you can connect with me on any social media platform, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, because by following me, I will support you back. I'll be able to see what you're doing as well, hence the positive pollination. So thank you once again for tuning in, and please be brave. Please show up as the person that you wish you'd seen on screen.